Broadcasting from the deserts of sunny Arizona, you're listening to I've Got a Plan, hosted by Tim Fiskus, a podcast focusing on the two-player experience of Arkham Horror the card game. Join me as I take two investigators through a campaign, stopping along the way to talk tactics, strategy, and whine about the whims of the Chaos Bag. Let's have fun!
Welcome back to I've Got a Plan. We are heading into the third scenario of the return to the Path to Carcosa. And this is the scenario Return to Echoes of the Past. Now, this scenario takes place at the Historical Society of Arkham. We have left the party, the cast party, The Last King, where we had a pretty successful scenario with Mark and Lola. We ended up earning a total of 7 experience points that was split between the two of them. Mark got 4 and Lola got 3. And as far as The Last King goes, that's only a couple of victory points off of what you can earn maximum. So I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I'm here to bring you another one. Now, I'm sure you've noticed a little bit of a change in the layout here. I had some great comments from some of my viewers, and you guys have really been very appreciative of my content, and I really love that. I love the positive feedback I've gotten, the comments and messages that I've received. And one of the comments that I had received was some tips about how to improve the visibility and readability of the cards on the table. I was having, because I'm setting this up in a home gaming table situation and not any sort of a special studio, I was having some glare problems on the cards. And there's only so much you can do about that with glossy cards and a camera setup that's just a fairly simple phone and boom device. But I have made some improvements and changes to the lighting in the room with some indirect lighting and a couple of umbrella studio lights. And I think that has cast a slightly better light over the game table, and it's going to allow you all to read my table a little bit better. I've also brought the camera in a lot closer to the table to be able to focus a little bit more on the action. This scenario is a good one to test that on, because now that we are in the return to scenario for the Echoes of the Past, we are adding another floor to the Historical Society. So in addition to our normal 3 floors, we also have a basement floor here, which is new. So this is a big map. There's 12 locations right up front, and they're all in a fairly large layout. So if this scenario can fit on the table, I think we're pretty good for most scenarios. I won't use the scenario markers in this one because the connections are very simple. The connection markers aren't really needed. If we come into a situation like the library or something like that, then I'll throw that in. But hopefully you'll be able to see things a little bit better. Now, that does come at one expense. I have to move the character boards off of the viewable area of the video. As you can see, I'm using these really nice by the same token character boards. This is Lola's board here. But I've removed that off the video because, quite honestly, you guys don't need to see it. It's not really something you should need to stare at the whole time we're playing. I will use a visual marker or a visual counter of some kind to keep track of damage and horror that the investigators are taking, so that you can keep track of where they're at in that regard. I am going to have Lola's roll tracker visible on the camera here in the bottom right of your screen. I believe that's the bottom right. Yeah, the bottom right of your screen. And I will have the characters' cards, their cards in play in their active area here on the left and right, Mark on the left and Lola on the right. And resources, the encounter deck is here, so you can kind of get an idea of how when I'm reaching and drawing a card off of that. So you'll be able to see that a little bit better. And the decks and everything else are off screen, the resources and that sort of a thing. I will try to make an effort to remind you about my cards in hand and my available resources and damage and all that sort of thing as we're playing through, just like I do in my audio channel. So if you follow my audio podcast, we're through in a very exciting campaign right now, just a couple scenarios left to go, with Jim Culver and Calvin Wright going through the Circle Undone. And that audio podcast should be having another episode coming out later this week. So my video podcast that you're watching right now is Mark and Lola going through the Return to Path to Carcosa. So let's talk a little bit about the decisions that we made at the end of Last King. So when you finish The Last King, you have finished up a horrific dinner party, and you have to decide what to do when you've left the party. We survived, and both of us were able to resign and get out. But then we're left with three choices. We can go back inside. We can, think, maybe what we saw isn't the reality of things, and go back into the party. Or we can say, you know what? I don't trust this place one bit. I'm going to bar the door and take off. Or the third option you can do, which is the most dramatic of the options, is you can burn the place to the ground with all of the inhabitants inside. So each of those have consequences as the campaign continues. And what I've opted to do with this pair is to choose to say, let's get out of here. We're going to bar the door and just get out. We're not going to kill all of the inhabitants. That's for a couple reasons. It has ramifications down the road to your sanity. And I have no extra sanity to spare with either Mark or Lola. And so I was trying to do something that wouldn't haunt my dreams, if that's at all possible. So I opted against that. And I also didn't, I do trust Mark Harrigan to be able to take out the party guests if they come and join us in their nasty forms in the scenarios to come, including this scenario. So that's my process there. Because of that choice, I have now added 2 tablet tokens to the bag. So we have our bag that we had the last time, but we have 2 tablet tokens now heading into the Return to Echoes of the Past. Now, as far as the deck changes between scenarios, they were pretty simple. I gave 4 XP to Mark Harrigan, and I gave 3 to Lola Hayes. The 4 for Mark Harrigan were all used to purchase 1 Mark I grenades. So this is a 4 XP card, pictured here, that is going to be part of the theme of Mark's deck, which is a here, catch deck. And so now I have some grenades that I'm going to be using the Venturer to top off, and I'll be using Reliable to try to keep them around, and hopefully I'll be able to keep slinging some grenades around, and that sounds like a good time. And in order to put in the grenades, I took out a copy of the Colt. So the 32 Colt, 1 copy of that is gone, and grenades in its place. Lola's changes were a little more complicated than that. Lola opted for Adaptable. So Adaptable is a 1 XP card that then allows you to swap out 0 XP cards to 2 0 XP cards between every scenario at no experience cost. Normally, if you add another level 0 card to your deck after the campaign has begun, you have to pay an XP, a minimum of 1 XP for a card, so even level 0 cards cost 1 XP. But with Adaptable, you can make 2 free swaps of level 0 cards in between scenarios. And since I know this campaign fairly well, I don't know the Return to version, but I know the basic version, I felt like I could make some pretty reasonable swaps as we went. So Adaptable went in, and I swapped out 2 copies of Survival Instinct for 2 copies of Perseverance. I wanted to give Lola just a little bit more out if she starts to get close to death. The scenario can run a little long depending on what happens if you're able to keep the cultists at bay. So I wanted to be able to play a little bit of a longer game with Lola and keep her from dying. And that's what Perseverance does. It just gives you a couple free reset buttons to avoid a lethal damage or lethal horror. And then the last change that I made was to take a copy of Elusive. Now I am playing Taboo for these decks, and Elusive, which used to be a 0 XP card, now costs 2. So between the Adaptable and the Elusive, that's my 3 XP, and the Elusive went in place of a Manual Dexterity. It's one of just the basic dexterity boosting cards. Elusive is just a terrific card, which is of course why it was tabooed, because it was showing up in everybody's deck everywhere, and it's just fantastic. It's fast, it's cheap, it lets you move anywhere on the map that's been revealed, and it can essentially single-handedly win you scenarios by getting you halfway across a giant map. And so I thought, well, this is a giant map, I might just need it. So I packed 1 copy of Elusive in there. And that's the changes that were made to the deck. Now let's talk a little bit about the return to the Echoes of the Past scenario. This is set up differently. As you can see, we have a basement floor now, and the basement halls, the quiet halls of the basement, are connected to the entry hall here, just like the quiet halls for the second floor are. Essentially, we have a central staircase, and then we have 2 rooms off of each of the stairs on the floors that are connected to the central staircase. Sometimes they're connected to each other, but that will depend on where things end up as we reveal them. And we have put in 2 out of the 3 basement locations, which I have not peeked at. I don't know what's down there. And of course I'm gonna go down there and check it out. Well, why wouldn't I? Spooky and Historical Society, cultists chasing us, dark rituals. Why not go to the basement? In fact, I might go alone. And that's the setup for the Echoes of the Past scenario. Now, I do want to mention a couple other things about this scenario. We have added in some nice other new surprises that are going to be showing up. I've shuffled them into the deck, and I'll point them out when they come up. As of right now, the cards for the Return to Path to Carcosa, the encounter cards, are not yet on Arkham DB. So I'm hoping by the time this video gets published, they're available, but if they aren't, I'll try to show you any new cards as they show up. We start this scenario, because it is a 2-player scenario, we start with the Seeker of Carcosa, one of the Seekers of Carcosa. That's him right here. We start with this guy in play at a 3rd floor location. So he is 2 fight, 2 evade, and 3 health. And he will be spawned at a 3rd floor location. And in this scenario, whenever a Historical Society location has an enemy spawn there, you reveal the location, because they're going to start stealing your clues. The cultists are here to work doing the same thing we are, trying to gather information. And so we're trying to gather it faster than they are. And one of the ways you can ensure that happens is by bopping them over the head. But as it is, that's what we're looking at. We also, because of our interviewing, in this scenario, it is Sebastian Moreau. So because we interviewed Sebastian Moreau, we get to start this scenario with a couple extra bonuses. The first thing that we do is that we put 2 clues on the entry hall. So this would normally be a 2 shroud, 0 clue location, but the entry hall is going to have 2 clues on it for this playthrough. And that's nice because the Agenda 1 requires us to, Act 1 requires us to get 4 clues. So that's half of our clues right there, sitting there ready to be snapped up by somebody. The second change to the setup is that because we have chosen to flee the dinner party, we've arrived early at the Historical Society, and each of our investigators is going to get a total of 4 actions in the first round. Oops. We're going to get 4 actions in the first round and not just 3. So I use my little Cthulhu's to mark the actions that I use, and we're going to have 4 of them, 4 for Lola and 4 for Mark. So hopefully we can get a little bit of a jump start. What's particularly nice about that is with 4 actions, in theory, you can get into the 3rd floor location where the Seeker of Carcosa is and engage him so that you have the possibility of grabbing, stopping him from grabbing clues off of that location and potentially killing him if you happen to draw the right cards. So he is aloof, which of course makes it even more difficult because you have to move into his room, engage him, and then kill him, which takes a lot of actions, but it's possible with maybe a couple shortcuts or something we could get up there. So let's go ahead and spawn the Seeker of Carcosa in a 3rd floor location. And our 3rd floor location is Peabody's office. All right, this is a 4 shroud location with 4 clues. While an investigator at this location controls Mr. Peabody, this location gets -2 shroud. All right, well, that's a lot of clues. So 4 shroud and 4 clues. Not exactly a tempting location to go running up to right away unless we get some real clue boosting. And we're gonna put those 4 clues right there in play. The Seeker of Carcosa also says, at the end of the Mythos phase, move 1 clue from the Seeker of Carcosa's location to the Seeker of Carcosa. if you cannot place a doom on the Seeker of Carcosa instead. So he's going to start stealing the clues out of this location, and then once he's stolen all the clues, then he's going to start putting doom out there. Now luckily he's in a 4-clue location, so that'll take a little bit longer to get that taken care of. But that's how it is. I don't believe there's anything else to cover before we start this scenario. In general, my strategy here is going to be to try to zip the clues out and get those as fast as we can. Get Lola set up with a clue kit, and then let Mark run around playing whack-a-mole with the cultists to try to keep the agenda deck from advancing as much as I possibly can. That is always the challenge in this scenario, is the agenda deck likes to run out fast. With the addition of the basement, I can see how it's going to be a little harder to get around, because if you're in one of the basement rooms and you want to get up to a 3rd floor room, that's a lot of walking. I mean, that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movement points just to get up to from the basement to the 3rd floor. So that's serious business, no doubt about it. Let's go ahead and deal out some starting hands. And starting with Mark, I'm just going to give this deck a little shuffle. All right. And let's see what Mark dishes up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, in Mark's starting hand, we have a smoking pipe, the home front, the man in the pallid mask. Okay, well, he won't go out right now. An emergency cache, and some handcuffs. All right, handcuffs could be nice for one of the cultists, potentially. But let's see, I need to replace the man in the pallid mask. Aha! Some MK1 grenades, or Mark 1 grenades as they're called. The Mark 1 grenades are new, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about them. Mark 1 grenades have uses, 3 supplies. If the Mark 1 grenades have no supplies, discard it. So they've got 3 charges, but hopefully you can top them up as you go with maybe a Venturer or something like that. As an action, spend a supply. You get +2 for this attack. If this attack, +2 fight for this attack. If this attack is successful, instead of its standard damage, this attack deals 2 damage to each enemy and each other investigator at your location. So essentially you can duck, but your friends aren't smart enough to duck. The grenades do not get to go to another adjacent location like you would think your grenade would be able to do, but there are some cards that let you do that. So let's see, grenades, I've got handcuffs. That can stop these cultists from getting doom placed on them, which is pretty nice. And they cannot ready. That's pretty good. Emergency cache, the home front, and smoking pipe. All right, well, I'm going to get rid of the smoking pipe, I think, right now. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the smoking pipe because I'll use that a little bit later to hopefully be able to keep Mark topped up with sanity. But I'm liking everything else as far as I like the home front, I like the handcuffs, the grenades, obviously. Yeah, we'll go ahead and keep all of that. And then for my 5th card in hand, I'm going to draw a, ooh, very nice, my level 3 Enchanted Blade. So between, oh, and the grenades don't even take up a hand slot. So that Enchanted Blade is really nice for dealing out some smack. It says, uses 3 charges. Fight. You get +2 fight for this attack. If you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to empower the blade, dealing an extra damage for the attack. So it does cost a charge to do the extra damage, but you don't have to spend the charge. You can just do 1 damage if you want. If the blade is empowered and this attack defeats an enemy, draw a card and heal a horror. So that's also a really nice deal right there. So Mark's got a couple of his upgraded cards here in our first starting hand. So I'm real happy with that. And let's see what Lola's got. Now Lola, remember, has 2 copies of Studious in her out-of-play permanent cards. So this means she starts with a hand size of 7. So we're going to get 7 cards to start the game. And let me go ahead and shuffle up Lola here. Lola's got a quite a bit bigger deck than Mark does. Let me give that a little. My apologies for those of you that are freaked out by sleeveless shuffling. I've opted against the sleeves again because I think it's going to help with the glare. And Lola's starting hand, 6, 7. We've got Improvisation, that's great. Take heart, live and learn, another live and learn, an art student, a silver twilight acolyte, which will get set aside, and an unexpected courage. Okay, well that's a pretty asset-less hand there. So certainly the improvisation is great to keep. So I'll keep that. I'll keep the art student for grabbing a tough clue. And let's see what else I might want to keep. I think we're okay for resources, but I'm going to keep a Take Heart, just because I think that's a great card to have around to be able to boost you when you start to run dry. And I'll go ahead. Oh, I got to replace the Silver Twilight Acolyte first, which is a Perseverance. Okay, I don't need that up front. I'll go ahead and turn in all 4 of these for 4 new cards. So I'm keeping the Improvisation, the Take Heart, and the Art Student. And I'm going to add to that 4 more cards. An Act of Desperation, a Take the Initiative, a Magnifying Glass level 0, and a 45 Automatic level 0. Okay, well I've got a little bit of fight, I've got a little bit of investigate. I would really like to have gotten a fingerprint kit, but I did not. So it's got some pretty good options there. I can get that 45 Automatic in play for only $1 by using Improvisation. So that seems pretty good. Okay, great. So that's Lola's hand. And let's think a little bit about what role I want to start with Lola. I think I want to get that Magnifying Glass into play and then maybe swap for the 45. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and start in Seeker. And that will let me also potentially scout out somewhere nearby and slap down an art student for a little bit of soak. Though I might want to wait till I get a little bit higher. Yeah, I might want to wait till I get just a little bit higher shroud to use that art student. All right, and then let's shuffle. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the scenario that we're heading into. The Return to Echoes of the Past. Agenda 1A. The truth is hidden. Surprisingly, the front doors of the Historical Society's Georgian Manor are cracked halfway open when you arrive. Who else could be here at this hour? Do not add doom to this agenda during the Mythos phase, which is the first time you play this scenario, you're a little taken aback by that. You're like, do not what? How? What? Forced. After 1 or more clues are placed on an enemy in play, flip those clues to their doom side. So as the enemies steal your clues, they start to increase the doom. Act 1A, the race for answers. Each of the Historical Society's many rooms contains records and documents that may aid you in your search for answers about the King in Yellow. There must be something here that can guide you toward the truth. This is a 4-clue threshold. It is a 4-doom threshold on the agenda, so 2 doom per player. The Echoes of the Past scenario Chaos Bag is as follows. Skulls are -X, where X is the highest number of doom on an enemy in play. So if you can keep that managed, that's a pretty friendly skull in the bag, and there are 3 of those in the bag. And then we also have 2 tablets, which are -2. If you fail, discard a random card from your hand. So 2 up is a pretty good place to be in this scenario. There's still a couple tokens that can get you with 2 up, but still 2 up's a pretty good place to be. And we also have a new rule. After we advance to Act 2 or to Act 3, we're going to spawn a monster, a new monster called the Keeper of the Oath. And I have not actually looked at this monster, so I'll be surprised as you are. And we're going to spawn that at any empty Historical Society location. So there's going to be some monsters popping out as we advance the act, so we'll have to be thoughtful about how we go about the business of doing that. So it's going to be good for both of our characters to have a little firepower, but Lola is starting with a 45, and Mark is starting with some grenades and an enchanted blade, so we're looking pretty good there, I think. We have 5 resources each, and let's go ahead and dive in. So I think we'll go ahead and start with Mark. The plan for Mark, I think, is just going to be to go ahead, go up there, and start scrapping it up with this Seeker of Carcosa, because he's going to start stealing our stuff. Marx really doesn't have any chance to get clues up there at the Historical Society, the Peabody's office, but he can certainly deal damage to that Seeker of Carcosa, who only has 2 fight. So he's not too tough to kill. Does have 3 health, but that's not bad. So let's go ahead and get started with Mark. I'm going to want to go ahead and get some sort of a fighting option in play. So let's go with... I'm looking at the handcuffs. If you handcuff a Seeker Carcosa, let's see, move 1 clue to them, but doom cannot be placed on them. So you would still lose your clues, but you wouldn't have any doom, and then that doesn't really matter too much. Handcuffs might be a pretty good option. You have to evade them in order to make that work, but you're evading with your fight value instead of your... that's not bad. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's try some handcuffs. Let's see if we can't handcuff a dude right off the bat here. So I'm going to play a pair of handcuffs for 2. And that's action number 1. And action number 2, I'm going to go ahead and walk up into the 2nd floor quiet halls. And this says, 3 shroud, 0 clues. Quiet halls is connected to each other's 2nd floor location. And then there's an action here that takes place on all of the quiet halls. If each location in play is revealed, and there are no clues on locations in play, you can use the quiet halls to put some clues out there. But that only happens if, I think if you're playing with more players. I don't see that happening too often with just a couple investigators. So Mark is moving up there for his 2nd action. For Mark's 3rd action, I'll move to the 3rd floor quiet halls. Same thing, same text, 3 shroud, 0 clues. And let's see, that Seeker of Carcosa is aloof. So that's going to take yet another action to be able to engage him. So anything else I want to do this round? I don't believe so, so I'll just go ahead and spend my 4th action, because I do get 4 now. At least this round I do. And I'll move into Peabody's office. The Seeker of Carcosa is aloof, so he doesn't come down and bother me. And let's see what we want to do with Lola. First thing we're going to do with Lola, because we're in Seeker, I'm going to go ahead and play a magnifying glass. And that's going to give me a bonus when I'm investigating. And anything else I want to do in Seeker? No, there isn't. So I'm going to go ahead and play improvisation. Fast, play only during your turn. Switch your roll. Until the end of the turn, reduce the resource cost of the next card you play of your roll by 3 and draw a card. So I'm going to switch to Guardian. That does not count as my official free switch from my card, from my character card. And then improvisation will draw me a fingerprint kit. Oh man, and I just switched off a Seeker. Okay, well I'll go back to that next time, because I definitely want to get that fingerprint kit in play. In fact, that will, I think, change how I'm going to play all of this. Yeah, for my 1st action, I'm going to go ahead and play the 45 automatic for a single resource. It costs 1 because of improvisation, and the 45 automatic comes into play with 4 ammo on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for those of you that are able to zoom in, I'm going to go ahead and put a die on there to show you from the top how many ammo we still have left on that. So I think hopefully you can read that. So there's 4 ammo left on that gun. I'll change the pips on that die as we go. And let's see, that was my 1st action. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take my, it's risky to free swap back into Seeker and play a fingerprint kit, isn't it? If I swap back into Seeker and play a fingerprint kit, then I'm gonna be able to a little bit more efficiently grab these 2 clues out of the entry hall, for sure. But I'm risking the loss of the fingerprint kit and the magnifying glass by drawing off the top of my deck. I'll take the risk, because that's really efficient, so I would like to do it. So for my second, I'll switch back into Seeker, and that is my free switch for the round. And I'm going to spend my remaining 4 resources on a fingerprint kit, which comes into play with 3 supplies. And I'll mark those supplies as well. And that was my second action. For Lola's third action, I will go ahead and investigate the entry hall using the fingerprint kit. So exhaust it and spend a supply, putting us at 2 supplies. And we're going to investigate this at a total of 5 to 2. So I'm 3 plus bonus, 2 bonus from the fingerprint kit and the magnifying glass. So I'm at 5 to 2. I will not play anything to boost that, and I'll just hope for the best out of the Chaos Bag. And the Chaos Bag has handed us a skull, which right now is 0. So that gets us the 2 clues off of the entry hall. So Lola will go ahead and snap up those 2 clues. And I still have 1 action remaining because of the bonus action I get this round. I think I'm just going to start checking out the place. I'm going to start casing out the joint. Let's go ahead and move over here to a second floor location, or a first floor location. I'm used to that being the second floor because I'm not used to there being a basement. So, ground floor. We have the Historical Museum. So this is a 2 shroud, 2 clue location. And while investigating this location, your intellect cannot be modified. So you're just going to be at your base intellect. So which is 3 for Lola. And that comes into play with 2 clues. All right, well, that's even with unmodified intellect, I still have a decent chance of being able to grab those 2 clues. But not this round. That was the end of my actions. So that's the investigation phase, and then enemy phase. So the Seeker of Carcosa steals the clues at the end of the Mythos phase. So nothing happens right now for the enemies, and then we're going to reset. Mark will reset his actions back to 3 actions for next round, and draw a card. And the card I draw is a guard dog. Okay, nice. I'll keep that. And I'll take a resource, putting me at 4. And then Lola is going to draw a card and hope for the best. Scary. Let's see what I draw. Fingerprint kit comes back up, and I get an enchanted blade. Okay, this is it is not my weakness, so that's what's important. So this is a level 0 enchanted blade. I've got a gun in play. I don't really need that right now. So let's reset. My roll is still at Seeker. And I'll take a resource, putting me at 1. And that is the end of round 1. Okay, round 2. We do not place a doom on the agenda. That is so wacky, but we don't do it. And then at the end of the Mythos phase, with the Seeker of Carcosa is going to steal one of the clues off of Mr. Peabody's office and convert it into a doom. Let's see, and it goes on to the Seeker of Carcosa. And that means we are at 1 doom in play. And then let's draw a couple encounter cards. Let's see, who's my lead investigator? Mark is my lead. Let's go ahead and draw a card with Mark. And Mark draws, another Seeker of Carcosa. All right, this spawns at any empty historical society location. All right, I could put that across the hall from us. He's gonna steal some stuff also. Sure, I'll go ahead and put that on the other top floor location over here. And let's see what's up there. This is it is a passageway location, the Historical Library. Okay, this says a 3 shroud, 4 clues. After you successfully investigate this location, take 2 horror and discover an additional clue at this location. So 2 horror. That is not a small amount of horror. But that does come in play with 4 clues. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are lots of ways that the clues get replenished in this scenario. So the trick is just making sure you keep the doom down. The loss of the clues being stolen by the different cultists doesn't really cause too much trouble, at least depending on the timing of things. And that was Mark's encounter card. Lola's encounter card is Led Astray. All right, this is a scheme. Peril, you must decide. Place one of your clues on a cultist enemy, or place one doom on the current agenda. Let's see, if I place a clue on a cultist enemy, that is going to lose me a clue and gain them a doom. Okay, so either way, this is going to result in a doom. So let's go ahead and, put one of Lola's clues on the cultist. So I'm going to take a clue of one of Lola's clues and I'm going to put it on this Seeker of Carcosa over here that already has a doom on him and make that a second doom on him. Yeah, well, that card is nasty. All right. So that's the Mythos phase. Let's head into the investigation phase. So the handcuffs really aren't a very good option anymore for Mark against that Seeker of Carcosa, because it just keeps doom from being placed on him. It doesn't actually remove the doom from him, and I need to remove the doom from him for sure. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to just bop him over the head. The guard dog is not very helpful in this situation because those Seekers of Carcosa don't deal damage, so they're not going to ever trigger the guard dog. So it's going to take at least 2 swip swaps from something. So let's go ahead and start with Mark, and I'm going to go ahead and play for my first action an Enchanted Blade. I'll spend 3 clues, and I will play the Enchanted Blade level 3, and that comes into play with 3 charges on it. So 3 charges. And then I'm going to go ahead and spend my second action. Tricky. Yeah, there's not really any way to kill him outright because of the aloof. So I will go ahead and pull him to Mark, and I'll put him here. This is going to be Mark's threat area. Are you able to see that? Yeah, pretty well. I'm going to just slide everything up a little bit to get those threat areas a little bit more visible. Slide that Seeker of Carcosa up here into Mark's threat area. And then for my third action, I will go ahead and I will smack him with an Enchanted Blade. And let's just hit him. I get a fight. I get +2 for the attack. So I'm at 7-2. And I get a tablet. Tablet is -2. I did not fail. So that I will not empower the blade. I'll just go ahead and deal 1 damage. So that's 1 damage to this Seeker of Carcosa. He's not quite dead, though he's nearly at the end. That was my wife appreciating my Spam-A-Lot lyrics. Okay, and then we are headed over to Lola, who finds herself in Seeker. So while I'm in Seeker, I think I'll go ahead and try to grab another clue out of this location, the 2 clues out of this location with the fingerprint kit. Now I cannot modify my intellect for this. So I'm going to be at 3. I can, however, commit cards because that doesn't modify my intellect. Question is, do I want to commit the art student for that? I don't think I do. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and risk it at 3-2. So I will use the fingerprint kit and I will try 3-2. And the Chaos Bag, ooh, dishes me out an Elder Sign. Very nice. See, I knew it was a good decision. Thanks for making me look smart. I grabbed the 2 clues off of that location. And that puts us at 3 clues as a team. And I get to change my role, which I will certainly do as I'm done in Seeker for right now. Let's go ahead and switch over to, since we're going to switch for free, let's switch to, doesn't really matter, I don't think. I'll switch to Guardian. That's probably where I'm going to want to sit anyway. Yeah, I'll switch to Guardian. So my first action was using the fingerprint kit. For my second action, I will move into the entry hall. And for my third action, I think I'm going to go ahead and come upstairs. So I'm going to move a little bit farther up so I can help out up here. So I'm going to head up to the quiet halls on the 2nd floor. And I'll just stay in Guardian is fine. It's my typical off-turn class because there aren't any permanents in Guardian in this deck. And that's it for Lola. So that's the end of the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nothing happens. Not true. Mark gets attacked by the Seeker of Carcosa that's sitting here, so Mark is going to take a horror, which is not something that you want to say very often in this game. So Mark takes a horror, 1 of 5. And then let's reset. Mark and Lola get their actions back. And let's see what we get. Mark draws Shell Shock. For every 2 damage on you, take 1 horror. That is a whiff on Shell Shock. Thank you very much. And I'll take a resource. It's about as good a news as you can get from Mark. And then Lola will draw another magnifying glass. Okay, my hands are full right now, so that's not going to be played. I could commit it. All right, I could also wait until I active Desperation the empty fingerprint kit, which, speaking of which, I forgot to spend a charge on the fingerprint kit. But if I active Desperation the empty fingerprint kit, then I could stick a magnifying glass in that particular slot. And that'll give me the cash to do some other stuff as well. And then Lola will take a resource. All right, and that is the end of the round. We're going into round 3. So right now the Doom count in play is 2 because of the 2 on this Seeker of Carcosa. And is it the start of the Mythos phase that they do this? Why can't I remember this? At the end of the Mythos phase, which is good because the start would be nasty. We would be advancing right now. So let's go ahead and draw a couple cards. Mark's encounter card is, a Fanatic. Okay, here come the enemies. Fanatic, spawn at the revealed location with the most clues, which is the library up there on the 3rd floor. Move 1 clue from the Fanatic's location to the Fanatic. All right, he is not aloof, but he does take a clue and he converts that into a Doom. That's starting to look like Grenade Town over there. I keep picking the wrong weapon. And then Lola's card is, whoa, another Fanatic. Holy mackerel. The revealed location with the most clues is either one of those 2 locations. Well, while we're throwing grenades, let's go ahead and do it. So that Fanatic will also move over there. So all three of these enemies are up here on the top floor. Let me adjust this so you can see them a little bit better. We've got 2 Fanatics and a Seeker of Carcosa all up there in that top floor location. And he also steals a clue and puts a Doom in play. So that's 4 Doom in play right now. And it's about to be more, because at the end of the Mythos phase, both of these 2 Seeker of Carcosas grab clues as well. So we're going to take 2 more clues off the locations and turn them into 2 more Doom. So it's a third doom on the Seeker of Carcosa in Mark's threat area, and then another doom on the Seeker of Carcosa in the library. They're having a little party up here in the library. So we have 6 doom in play right now. So I have to take care of that problem before the next Mythos phase, which is certainly doable. I think the play here is I need to save Mark action so he can go ahead and get things going across the hall. So Lola's going to go first. Let me reset the fingerprint kit here. I'm going to swap into Guardian. That's my swap for the turn. And then I'm going to spend my first 2 actions to move in to the Historical Society. Mr. Peabody's office. And then I'm going to spend my 3rd action to fire a shot off of the 45 automatic, aiming at the Seeker of Carcosa that is engaged with Mark. Albeit a risky move. But Lola firing the 45 automatic is at 4-2. And that's the +2 that you need in this particular situation. Am I going to commit anything here? Yes. Mark is here, so he will go ahead and commit the guard dog to help out with that test. So this is 5-2. Mostly because if Lola misses, she shoots Mark. And out of the bag comes a +1. All right, well, that's very successful. And the guard dog is discarded, and the 2 damage from the 45 automatic is applied to that Seeker of Carcosa, and he is dead. So all that doom goes with him, and we're back down to 3 doom. All right. Lola, the actress, sneaking up behind, firing what she thinks is a prop gun, only to see the back of the head of the monster explode. My God, what have I done? And then Mark now is going to need to go over into that other room, and we're going to need to start tossing some grenades. Now that means I'm going to need to get ready for that. So here's the plan. Step number 1, Mark is going to play emergency cash and take 3 resources, putting him at 5. Step number 2 will be to play the Mark 1 grenades. Don't take up any sort of slots. So I've got now, let's see, 3 supplies on that. And then for action number 3, I will move into the hallway, move out into the quiet halls, with the plan of next turn, running in there, engaging the fanatics, tossing a grenade in the room, and blowing everybody to smithereens. Gosh, that sounds fun. It's no wonder everybody likes playing Mark Harrigan. You get to throw grenades into rooms full of cultists. If that's not satisfying, I don't know what is. So we are now headed into the enemy phase, because that's the end of a very quick investigation phase. During the enemy phase, let's see, nothing happens. None of these enemies are hunters. The fanatics are happy where they are. The seeker is happy where he or she is. They are masked, so you can't quite tell there. Yeah, that's the enemy phase. So then we're going to reset. Mark's card draw is On the Hunt. Oh, that's very interesting. Search the top 9 cards for an enemy. I could very easily grab another one of those fanatics or Seeker of Carcosas. The problem with that is, of course, then if it's one of those fanatics, they're not going to spawn there. They're going to spawn where Lola is. Yeah, I might grab that later, but for now, let's go ahead and take that, and I'll take a resource. And then Lola will reset. And she will draw. Ooh, okay, well, it looks like I'm busy. I drew a Silver Twilight Acolyte. Just when you thought you had enough cultists. All right, this guy spawns engaged with me. He is a hunter. After he attacks, place a doom on the current agenda. Well, that's no fun. All right, he's engaged with Lola. I am in Guardian right now, so I'm ready to roll as far as that's concerned. Could deal some damage that way. Hate to waste a couple bullets on that guy, but he's definitely worth it. I mean, you're going to have to kill him one way or another. I do have the Enchanted Blade, but I don't want to take the attack of opportunity, and then I take a resource. And we're heading into the next round. Next round, Mythos phase. No Doom on the agenda. We are at 3 of 4 when we check. There is 1 Doom on each of the 3 cultists in the Historical Society 3rd floor library. And we're going to try to dispatch of them, I hope, this round, or at least a couple of them. And then let's draw a couple encounter cards. Mark's card is the King's Edict. Okay. For each, this is probably bad. For each cultist enemy in play, move 1 clue from that enemy's location to that enemy. All right, until the end of the round, each cultist enemy in play gets +1 fight for each clue and or doom on it. Okay. If no clues are moved, then it gains surge. All right, well, there's... interestingly, the Silver Twilight Acolyte is also a cultist in play. So that's a bummer. All right, so for each cultist enemy in play, move 1 clue from that enemy's location to that enemy. All right, so the Silver Twilight Acolyte is going to have a guy in my deck that's working for the enemy. He's going to pull a clue to him, which becomes a doom on him. Means Lola, even more importantly, has to hit him. But he's a little tougher to hit this turn because of the +1 fight. Okay, and then there's only 1 clue left on this library, so I'll go ahead and move that to one of these 2 health fanatics. I'll move it to that one because I'm going to target the other one with the grenades. At least that's the plan. And then that does not gain surge. That's what that does. Okay, so that empties out the library, the 3rd floor library of clues, and leaves only 1 left in Mr. Peabody's room. And let's see what else we've got going on. Lola's encounter card, is an Acolyte. Boy, enemies galore here. Okay, let's see. He goes in any empty location and place a doom on him. Well, I can tell you that the scenario is fighting back a little harder than it usually does in the basic game. This scenario, by the way, in the original Path to Carcosa, can be a bit of a cakewalk because it doesn't put a lot of pressure on you since the doom doesn't tick up. And as long as you can keep up with the cultists, you can keep ahead of the scenario. But boy, it's fighting back right now. Let's put it in the 2nd floor hallway here because that way I can jump down and grab it soon. It has to be an empty location. That's the closest empty location. And it gets a doom on it. So that puts us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doom in play again. And all of these guys are a little tougher because of the King's Edict this round. All right, investigation phase. Well, Lola is certainly going to go first because I need to kill this Silver Twilight Acolyte. I'm in Guardian, so that's good. Yeah. Let's go ahead and shoot. I'm going to fire my gun here, and I'm going to fire this gun with a take the initiative. So I'm going to spend, I'm in Guardian, I can do take the initiative. So I'll get a +3 on this check. So I'm going to be at 7 to 3 on this shot. And the Chaos Bag says -2. So that is a hit. It would not have been if I had not committed that. So that's down to 2 ammo on the 45 automatic. And 2 damage on the Silver Twilight Acolyte. Okay, and then I will... Firing the gun is going to put me at 4 to 3 on this check. I have nothing I can commit while I'm in Guardian. I don't know that I like my odds at 4-3 right now. I also could active Desperation this. I hate to burn charges. All right, I've got 3 actions. Let's go ahead. He doesn't have Retaliate, so let's go ahead and try to shoot him again. I'll drop another bullet into this, so that leaves me with just a single bullet. Get rid of the die. And let's fight him at 4-3. And just hope for the best. I don't really want to commit my Enchanted Blade here. I could commit the Enchanted Blade, but I think when the 45 automatic is done, I'm going to need the blade. So 4-3, and the Chaos Bag says -1. All right. Whew. That was risky. That's 2 more damage to the Silver Twilight Acolyte, who is dead. And that doom goes away. Well, that was a lot of energy and effort expended to be able to deal with something that is just my own personal weakness. So then what do I want to do for my 3rd action? Down to 1 bullet in the gun. I'm down to the Seeker. Boy, if I could play the Art Student and grab that clue, that would be very tempting because then I could advance. But boy, I'm setting myself up for trouble if I do that. Let's do it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and move into Seeker. And I'm going to play the Art Student for 2. So Art Student comes into play, gives me a little bit of soak, and I will go ahead and grab that last clue in my location. Now, I have 4 clues now with Lola, and I would normally just advance. That's what, in this particular scenario, in this particular situation, I would just advance because I want to be able to start getting forward movement on finding the library and all that. But in the return to, when you advance, you're bringing another enemy into play. And that is definitely dicey. I don't even know what the new enemy does, but there's a good chance he's going to spawn with Lola, and I'm not quite ready for that because I want to deal with some of these other bad guys. So I'm going to hold off on advancing at least just this 1 more round. Let's go over to Mark. Mark, who has not actually taken any damage yet in this scenario. So I'm sitting with only a 2-card hand of the Home Front and On the Hunt. But let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and walk in. I'm going to move in with Mark to the library. That will engage him with both of the 2 fanatics that are there. The Seeker of Carcosa is still aloof. Oh, by the way, that Seeker of Carcosa at the end of the Mythos phase was supposed to get another Doom, and I did not do that. If you don't have one on the location to grab, then it's just comes from out of play. Yeah. So I got to kill these guys if I have any shot of being able to avoid that agenda advancing. But I got a pretty good shot here. So for my 2nd action, I am going to spend a grenade charge. Fire! Fire in the hole! So let's go ahead and spend a supply. You get +2 for this attack. So I'm at 7. And I'm fighting a fanatic, which is at 4. I'm going to fight the one that is the easier one to hit, the one with only 1 Doom on it. Remembering that the Doom adds +1 to their fight this round because of the King's Edict. So I'm at 7-4 on this attack. Let's do it. And 7-4 pulls me out of the bag. A tablet, which is -2, I believe. Yes, -2, and I did not fail. Okay, so the grenades go off, ba-boom, and deal 2 damage to every enemy at this location. So that is the 2 fanatics I am engaged with. Both are dead. And all their doom goes away. And the Seeker of Carcosa takes 2 damage out of the 3 necessary to kill it. Though he is still aloof. He was hiding behind a desk when I threw the grenades. Okay, That's good. Now the question is, what do I do next? Mark has one more action. I do not want to pull the Seeker of Carcosa because that's going to then just give me a horror in the enemy phase. And that's no good. So I think the right thing to do here is, let's see, I'll survive the... I'm down to just 3 Doom in play. So that's great. So I think I'm going to draw a card. I'm just going to go ahead and take the action to draw a card. Oh, get a vicious blow. Where was that a second ago? That would have blown them all up real good. I'll be happy to hold on to that though. And that is the end of the investigation phase. So that means Mark is not engaged. Nobody's engaged with anybody. So the enemy phase goes pretty smoothly. We don't have much going on there. And then we go to the reset. So Mark will get his actions back. And he will draw again, which is a shortcut. Shortcut is very good in this scenario. Fast lets you scoot around. Shortcut's very good in every scenario. Who are we kidding ourselves? I'm playing right now offline, not on one of my podcast episodes, but I'm playing a playthrough, what I'm calling a mega playthrough of the Forgotten Age. And I'm doing this with Joe Diamond and Rita, and they are doing a run-through of the Forgotten Age with essentially all of the side quests. So we've started with the Forgotten Age, and then we've also worked in the Curse of the Rougarou, and we just finished the Carnival of Venice the other night. And let me tell you, level 2 shortcut is really good in a lot of scenarios, but in both the Rougarou and the Carnival of Venice, that level 2 shortcut is really good. So if you haven't seen it, I'll put it up on the screen here just so I can show it off a little bit. Level 2 shortcut, for those of you who are thinking about playing that in some of your decks that allow level 2 Seeker cards, man, that card is fantastic. You can use it to slingshot all over the place. There's a couple scenarios in this campaign where that's also really good. And even though Mark can't take that, Lola certainly could. And I very well might. So let's see. Where were we? Oh yes, I drew a shortcut and then to take a resource. Let's go ahead and make change here. Mark is now sitting at 7 resources. And everything in his hand costs a grand total of 1. So I've got a lot of cash sitting around ready to be spent. And then Lola will reset. And she draws, not the weakness, please, an act of desperation. Okay, a second act of desperation, which is good because I'm about to have an empty automatic and an empty fingerprint kit. So that's 2 active desperations ready to roll. And I'll take a second resource. And we're moving on to the next round. All right, Doom on the agenda. I don't do that. And we are sitting at 3 Doom in play. And then let's go ahead and draw some cards. Mark's encounter card is the Cult's Search. Oh, interesting. Okay, if there is a cultist enemy in play with Doom on it, and there certainly are 2 of them, move all Doom from each cultist enemy to the current agenda. Oh, well, so much for that. Excuse me. This effect may cause the current agenda to advance, and it will. If there are no cultist enemies in play with Doom on them, then you go get a cultist. Okay, so this is going to take, let's see, move all Doom from each cultist enemy to the current agenda. So the Acolyte and both of the Seeker of Carcosa's Dooms all move to the current agenda. But that does not make it advance, because the current agenda now has 3 Doom on it. But that is it. That's all the Doom in play. And that's it for the Cult Search. So now that becomes somewhat interesting. Okay, and then Lola will draw her encounter card, which is Mysterious Chanting. Okay. Place 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. If there are no cultist enemies in play, okay, there are. So 2 Doom on the nearest. All right, so from Lola, the nearest is either this Seeker of Carcosa across the way or the Acolyte down in the stairwell. Let's go ahead and put it on the one that's with Mark already and is already damaged. So 2 doom on that guy. And then at the end of the Mythos phase, because that takes care of that, he'll grab another doom from out of play. So that's 3 more doom on that Seeker of Carcosa. He's a busy researcher, that guy there. Gives us 6 on the agenda as of right now. Back to 3 if I can kill that Seeker, which I will certainly do. And that's going into the investigation phase. All right, so what's the plan here? I've got the clues necessary. If I advance right now, I'm going to give myself the most possible actions to react to whatever happens with the advancement. Generally a good idea. I'd like to put myself in a better position to go get more clues before I advance, though. Because right now the top floor has just been picked dry of clues. Although I have a memory of advancement causing more clues to get placed into play, but neither of these top floor locations are very easy to get clues from right now. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go downstairs here. I'm gonna send Lola down after this Acolyte. So we're gonna go first with Lola. She's going to move and move. We're gonna move twice. And we're gonna move into this stairwell here, the 2nd floor stairwell where the Acolyte is hanging out. He engages me. And then I'll spend my 3rd action. Let's see, if I fight him, I'm gonna wanna fight him in Guardian. I am in Seeker right now. Yeah, that's fine, I'll go to Guardian. Swap over to Guardian, and I will fight him. I'm gonna shoot him with a gun. So this is just a 4 to 3 on this fight test. It was good enough last time, and I'll try it again. I'm going to... See, I'm in Guardian, which wouldn't hurt me too badly if I drew my weakness. I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I can't. I was going to commit Take Heart, but you can't do that when you're in Guardian. So we'll just go ahead and fire here. So 4 to 3, Chaos Bag. Come on, be good to me. A skull. Well, that's not good. So a skull right now is the highest number of doom on an enemy in play. Definitely should have thought of that before I took those actions, because Mark could have dispatched that guy and I'd be at 0, and that would have been a kill. As it is, not the case. So I was not able to dispatch that Acolyte, and I'm now out of bullets, and I'm out of actions. So that's it for Lola. Mark, let's see here. I will definitely want to just finish this guy off. I have an opportunity to finish him off with the Enchanted Blade and heal that horror. So let's go ahead and do that, or try. So let's take a swing at him. First of all, I have to spend an action to engage him. It's so annoying that they're aloof. So an action to engage him. And then a 2nd action to fight him at +2 attack. So I'm at 7 to 2. All right. And I get a 0, so that's a success. Now, I don't have to empower this blade. If I do empower the blade, he's dead no matter what happens. If I empower the blade, I'm going to draw a card and heal a horror. But I'm also dealing excess damage that I don't need to deal. I'm going to not do that. I'm just going to let that ride at the 1 damage. So there goes all that doom. And that Seeker of Carcosa is dead. All right, I'm still fully charged up with the Enchanted Blade. Oh, I should be marking the grenades. I'm down to 2 grenade charges. And then I am going to send Mark into the quiet halls. There's no sense in sticking around up here. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to advance the act right now. I think I'll do it at the beginning of next turn, depending on what happens in the Mythos phase, but probably not. I'm probably just going to do it at the beginning of next turn anyway. All right, so that is the end of the investigation phase. Mark's last action was to move. Enemy phase, Lola gets hit by an Acolyte for 1 damage, and that's all that happens in the enemy phase. In fact, that's the only enemy in play. So good job for us, getting rid of all those. Then we reset with Mark, and Mark's drawn card is Ah, a venturer, just the guy I was looking for. Now what I can do is start using the venturer to top up my grenades, and I can feel free to just start whipping grenades at everybody. And it'll give me a little bit of soak as well. Got plenty of cash to play at that. Taking the resource right now puts me at 8 resources. Okay, and then Lola will reset. She's in Guardian right now, and she will draw. Drawing Finn. Okay, might be time to go ahead and swap over into Survivor, because I've now got 4 Survivor cards in my hand. Okay, so hand reminder, I've got 3 resources with Lola. I've got a Take Heart, 2 Active Desperations, and a Drawing Finn in Lola. Of course in Lola. In Survivor. I have a Magnifying Glass for Seeker, and I have an Enchanted Blade for Mystic Guardian. And I have a 45 automatic that is now out of charges in play. Might be time to just grab the gun and whip it at the Acolyte. And that is the end of the round. Okay, next round. Round 5 or 6, I'm not sure, something like that. Can't keep track in this scenario because of the lack of Doom placed on the agenda. But we have 3 Doom on the agenda right now, thanks to the King's Edict that happened last time, or whatever that card was called, the Cult's Search. So 3 Doom, and there's nothing in play right now, so we're ready to move on and draw some encounter cards. Mark's encounter card is, the Agent of the King. Okay, so he comes into play engaged with Mark. He is 4 fight, 2 evade, and 4 health. Prey, most clues. The prey instructions don't matter when you draw an enemy. He is a hunter, and when he attacks you, you move one of your clues to him. And when you defeat him, you take control of all of your clues back, except in this scenario, because the clues get converted to Doom as soon as he steals them. But, haha, joke's on him. Mark doesn't have any clues. Mark just has a whole bunch of stuff to smack him in the face. Now, my temptation with the Agent of the King is just to handcuff him, because he would be pretty easy to handcuff and just like leave him there. But he is a victory enemy. Interesting. I could take him out with a couple swings of an Enchanted Blade. Don't feel like the grenades are the right choice because of the fact that he has 4 health and we're still a decent ways from that. Yeah, I think I might just handcuff him and leave him here. He doesn't do anything if he's just sitting around. If he's handcuffed, I can't put any Doom on him. He can't ready. He's not elite, so that's fine. And then I could just come back and kill him if I have a little bit of time. Yeah, that seems like a good play. And let's go ahead and draw Lola's encounter card. Lola's encounter card is Mysterious Chanting. Okay, so that's going to put 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy, which is the Acolyte engaged with her, which cements her plan for sure. So 2 Doom on that Acolyte. And he's got to die. All right, he is the enemy closest to Lola because he is literally engaged with Lola. Okay, investigation phase. All right, well, we're yet again being delayed from dealing with gathering our clues, but hopefully Lola can just get rid of this Acolyte and move on with her life. So let's see, I am in Guardian right now. I am going to need to switch to Survivor. So let's go ahead, start with Lola and switch to Survivor. I'm gonna move over to Survivor. I'm a survivor. No, I won't do that. Okay, and then for my first action, I'm going to play Active Desperation. As an additional cost to play Active Desperation, choose and discard an item asset that takes at least a hand slot from your play area. From my hand or play area, I'll get rid of the 45 automatic because it is empty. All right, and this is a fight attack with a +4 fight and deals one extra damage, so 2 damage. And that is because it is an asset that costs 4. If this is successful, I will gain 4 resources. So I am fighting this guy at 4 plus my baseline stat line of 3 is 7 to 3. And I will not boost this. And 7 to 3 gives me, oh, hello, an Elder Sign. Okay, well, that's terrific. So that acolyte is way dead. So let's go ahead and get rid of him. And I gain 4 resources, putting me at 8 resources. Thank you, Act of Desperation. And I can switch roles if I wish without having to take a penalty on that. I'm actually kind of okay just hanging out in Seeker right now. I mean, Yeah, so the temptation, of course, I just was talking myself into it there. The temptation is to switch into Seeker, because then I can use my fingerprint kit on a location and grab a couple clues. But honestly, I think it might be time to advance the act. That Agent of the King is causing me trouble. Because if I advance the act, I know there's an enemy coming, and I want Mark to be able to handle him. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I do have the handcuffs to be able to deal with the Agent of the King. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and advance right now. So I'm going to spend the 4 clues that Lola has before something happens and I lose those clues. And we're going to advance the act. Got to get this thing moving. Act 1B, Late Night Studies. You find a record kept by one of the Society's historians pertaining to the, quote, dreadful events surrounding the closing of an old theater in Arkham, the Cedar Playhouse. Though there is no explicit mention of the King in Yellow, you believe you are on the right track. The historian's notes are cut short, and there is a faded, handwritten page clipped to the final entry. This matter is too ghastly for the public eye. I am placing the remainder of this record in the hidden library. All further inquiries should be done away from prying eyes, for this is a dangerous matter and not one to be researched lightly. For each revealed historical society location, add 2 clues to it up to a maximum of its clue value. And that's all that happens on the act transition for that card. So I had 2 clues to each revealed historical society location. So that's 2 clues down here to the historical museum. We had 2 clues to each of those 3rd floor locations. And those are all the revealed historical society locations right now. And we move on to Act 2A. But before we do that, we have to deal with a return to the Echoes of the Past. After the investigators advance to Act 2 or 3, spawn a set-aside Keeper of the Oath in any empty historical society location. All right, so the Keeper of the Oath. This guy's new, and I'm going to show him to you because I'm not going to be able to put a screen capture of this up until Arkham DB is updated. Keeper of the Oath is a humanoid cultist. So this is him right here. He is 5 fight, 3 evade, and 3 health. 5 fight, ooh yeah. While the number of the current act is greater than the number of the current agenda, which right now it is 2 to 1, he gains Hunter. At the end of the enemy phase, find each investigator whose location shares a trait with Keeper of the Oath's location. Move 1 clue from each of those investigators to the Keeper of the Oath. Okay. Oh, okay. So shares a trait. So that would mean ground floor, basement, passageway, that sort of thing. So he kind of terrorizes whatever floor he's on. No, that's cool. And I can stick him down in the basement for now. That wouldn't cause too much trouble. And he gains Hunter until the agenda advances, and then he's going to hang out. He's victory 0 and deals 1 damage and 1 horror. And I'll have to deal with this guy eventually, no doubt about it. But right now I'm going to just stick him down here in the basement. Let's see. And if I spawn an enemy at this location, reveal the location. Okay. And let me just double check. Spawn it at any empty historical society location. All right, so I'm going to spawn him in the basement. And that means we're going to reveal a new location I haven't seen before, the basement location. Oh my. Historical Society Museum Storage. This is the little green Mickey Mouse symbol. Oh, that artwork is pretty cool. Just sort of a bunch of art and books and things. Some medieval torture instruments, it looks like. Cool. All right. basement and passageway, 5 shroud, and 4 clues. Whoa, mackerel. And not even a victory point location. Forced. When you investigate this location, if there is at least 1 cultist enemy in play, this location gets -3 shroud for this investigation. Okay, so as long as there's a cultist living somewhere, which is making Agent of the King handcuffing a lot more attractive, it's only a 2 shroud with 4 clues. If you reveal a spooky symbol on this, move a clue from this location to the cultist enemy farthest from you before resolving the effects of the test. Okay, so it has the potential on a spooky symbol draw to drain it of clues and add doom to the agenda. That's pretty neat. That's cool design there. But that comes into play with 4 clues. All right. And the Keeper of the Oath is hanging out down there. At least for now, because he's going to hunt. Okay, so that does not change my plan with Lola. Let's talk a little bit about Act 2A. Mistakes of the Past. Somewhere in the manor is a hidden library where you might be able to find more information about the King in Yellow. You must find your way in if you are to continue your investigation. So I need 4 clues, 2 per investigator clues, to continue my investigation. So let's go get some clues. Lola will go ahead and slide over into the, let's make sure that this is connected only. The new Historical Society basement location is only connected to the basement quiet halls. So that's worth mentioning, at least until passageways become a thing. All right, Lola will slide over into, oh, right. I was going to switch to Seeker with my Elder Sign, and I forgot to do it. So I'm switching to Seeker, take the risk, and I'm going to move over into this Historical Society second floor location right here. And this is the Reading Room, 5 shroud, 1 clue. Investigate. If you succeed, instead of discovering clues, choose an enemy with doom on it. Take 1 of that enemy's doom, flip it to its clue side, and place it on your investigator. Group limit once per round. Okay, so you can use the Reading Room to be able to pull some doom off of other enemies, but honestly, I don't have the investigate for that right now. It has 1 clue, 5 shroud with 1 clue, and that's not good for me right now. It is just connected back to the quiet halls, so Lola will go ahead and move back into the quiet halls. So for my second and third actions, I'm going to move. And unfortunately, I swapped into Seeker a little bit too early. Probably should have waited on that, but too bad, so sad. So now I'm sitting at Seeker with 3 Seeker assets in play. So that can be really dangerous. But for right now, I'll just take my chances. And that's Lola. Okay, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. I will never get tired of that joke through this campaign, by the way. Though I'm sure you already are. I'm going to go ahead and handcuff this guy. Definitely. Let's go ahead and handcuff this guy and get a move on. See if I can grab some clues. And what's the best way to do that? Well, handcuffing him is easy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use the handcuffs. And I'm going to evade using my fight instead of my agility. So this is going to be a 5 to 2 on the evade. I will not add anything to this. And I get a skull. What is the skull? It is -0 right now. So that is a successful handcuffing. So I'm going to handcuff the Agent of the King. I'm going to tie him up to the banister in the stairwell. So he is now no longer, he cannot ready, and doom cannot be placed on him. All right, so he's going to be handcuffed to the stairwell up here. And that was Mark's first action. Okay, so for Mark's second action, I would really like to get involved in grabbing some clues here. I've got Sophie ready to go. I haven't taken any damage at all from Sophie, so I'm ready to start pumping up a couple tests. But boy, right now the shroud values are nasty. The upper floor shroud value is 4 and 3, but the 3 means you take 2 horror after you successfully discover a clue here. And that's not much fun. Not for Mark with his 5 sanity. And no healing in sight. I'm going to go ahead and shortcut. Play shortcut and zip down into where Lola is here in the quiet halls. And then I'm going to move for my second action over into the other second floor location. So this is another historical library. All right, so this is connected to, let's see, it's connected to the quiet halls, and then it's also connected back upstairs to the other historical library. It has the same text as far as taking horror goes. Well, looks like I don't have a whole lot of choice. So this is 3 shroud and 4 clues here. And I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go ahead and take the investigate and, no, I'm not. I'm gonna set myself up to hopefully do that next round. So I'm gonna spend my third action to play a venturer so he can soak a little bit of that horror, at least one of it. So the venturer costs 4, and he comes into play with 3 supplies. And because I have the possibility of losing the venturer, I'm gonna go ahead and use him, exhaust him, and add a supply over to the grenades. So the grenades are back at 3, and the venturer is now at 2. Let me go ahead and mark that. Not sure if those pips are helpful for y'all watching this, but I hope they are. And then now we've got a little bit of soak, so I can go ahead and grab a couple clues with Mark, hopefully grab a couple clues with Lola, and be done with it in that location. And that's the end of the investigation phase. All right, enemy phase, we have a hunter. So the hunter is going to move to the basement quiet halls, the keeper of the oath. And then we check to see if there's anybody in a basement location. There is not, so he doesn't steal any clues. Not like there's any clues for to steal anyway. Seems like what you want to do is try to grab all the clues on one round and spend them all so that the keeper of the oath can't steal stuff from you. But he's a-coming, at least for now he is. And that is it for the enemy phase. Now let me check and see something. Does the handcuffed agent of the king hunt? He is a hunter. No, I don't believe he does. I think you have to be ready in order to hunt. Let me just check that rule real quick. It would make sense. Yeah, ready, unengaged enemies hunt. Okay, so he's just going to hang out there handcuffed. It would make sense. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to be handcuffed to something and then go hunting. I guess he could have like handcuffed his hands behind his back and he's like, I'm coming to get you though I'm ineffective. And let's see, that was the enemy phase. So then we're going to go ahead and reset. So Venturer's back up. And Mark's card is a warning shot. Okay, that will probably be committed. I do not have a, now let's see, there's a firearm asset you control. I do not have one of those. So I'll probably just commit that card. And I'll take a resource putting me at 5. And then Lola's gonna draw. Oh God, this could be horrible. Okay, I'm prepared for the worst. All right. This will allow me to go look for another weapon if I want one. I have an enchanted blade right now, so that seems pretty good. I can also commit that for an intellect icon on an investigate, which I almost certainly will do. All right, and I will take a resource with Lola, putting her at 8 resources as well. And Mark has 5, Lola has 8. And we're on to the next round.